Cloud environments rarely grow in a straight line. A few experiments in one region turn into dozens of projects, hundreds of roles, and thousands of permissions, many of them created in a hurry. Before long, nobody can easily say who can reach which database or which workload can touch a particular storage bucket. That is where Cloud Identity and Access Management, IAM, comes in. This session is part of my Tuesday Insights feature from Bare Metal Cyber Magazine, and it focuses on how to use Cloud IAM as a practical decision system, not just a checkbox. Cloud IAM is the layer that decides who or what can do which action on which resource in your cloud platforms. It is less a single product and more a family of capabilities: accounts or subscriptions, projects or resource groups, identity objects, roles or policies, and the evaluation logic that ties them together. At a high level, authentication proves who someone is, while authorization decides what that identity may do. IAM lives firmly in the authorization world, answering that second question over and over again. You can think of IAM as a control plane that stretches across people, process, technology, and data. On the people side, team structures and ownership determine who should have access to which environments. On the process side, account creation, role design, and access reviews have to be repeatable. On the technology side, policies, bindings, and logs are implemented in the cloud platform itself. On the data side, a single mis-scoped role can expose an entire bucket or database that was meant to be tightly controlled. Under the hood, IAM works like a decision engine. Every time a user, service account, or workload calls a cloud API, the platform checks three things: who is calling, what operation they are trying, and which resource they are targeting. The engine then evaluates that combination against the policies and roles attached at different levels of your cloud hierarchy. The result is a simple allow or deny decision, but the path to that answer can be quite complex. The building blocks are usually familiar, even if each provider uses different names. There are accounts or subscriptions at the top, projects or resource groups in the middle, and resources like virtual machines, storage, and databases at the bottom. Humans and non-humans get access through roles or policies that list specific permissions. Those roles can be attached at different levels, and the permissions often inherit down to child resources. That inheritance is powerful for standardizing access, but it is also a common source of overreach when roles are attached too high. A concrete example helps make this flow real. An engineer signs in using single sign-on, SSO, possibly with multi-factor authentication, MFA, in front. They open a command line tool and try to list the contents of a storage bucket. The cloud platform looks up the engineer's identity, checks group memberships, finds which roles those groups have on the account, on the project, and on the bucket, and looks for any explicit denies or conditions, such as time limits or network location. Only when all those checks line up does the request succeed, and the platform logs the decision. This tidy description hides some assumptions that matter in everyday work. The decision engine expects a clean inventory of accounts and projects, an identity source of truth that is accurate, and logging that actually records what happened. If group membership is messy, if roles are attached inconsistently, or if nobody reviews logs, the engine still runs, but the results feel unpredictable to teams. The technology is deterministic. Most of the uncertainty comes from human design choices and shortcuts made under pressure. In daily practice, one of the most useful IAM patterns is environment separation. Teams put development, testing, and production in different accounts or projects, then grant different roles in each place. Developers might have broad rights in a sandbox to experiment freely, but only narrow, well-defined roles in production. This separation gives you a natural way to limit the blast radius of mistakes while still letting teams move quickly where the risk is lower. Another everyday pattern is group-based access for human users. Instead of granting individual permissions to each person on a database or project, platform teams create groups that reflect real duties, such as application operators or data engineering. They assign roles to the group and then add or remove people from the group as jobs change.
Reviews become much less painful when you can look at group membership and group role bindings, rather than chasing hundreds of one-off grants that made sense only in the moment.
Machine identities are just as important. Microservices, data pipelines, and automation tools often run under service accounts or workload identities that need to talk to queues, secrets, and storage. A healthy pattern is to design narrow roles for each category of workload, grant only the permissions required for its tasks, and rotate credentials on a regular schedule. When workloads change, permissions should be updated intentionally. That is how least privilege becomes a normal part of system design, rather than a slogan.
Over time, more strategic IAM patterns begin to matter. Many organizations standardize a landing zone design so that every new account or project starts with the same basic roles, logging settings, and guardrails. Others maintain a small catalog of approved roles, each with a clear description and owner, instead of allowing hundreds of slightly different custom roles. Some teams treat IAM as code, storing policies in version control and reviewing changes through pull requests. These approaches require planning and coordination, but they pay off as the cloud footprint grows.
When Cloud IAM is working well, it becomes a security backbone rather than a source of friction. Least privilege stops being an abstract aspiration and shows up in the form of scoped roles that match real jobs. Engineers can request the right access quickly, and reviewers can see why that access exists. Investigations move faster because teams can explain who can touch a given resource and which logs to check. That combination of safety and clarity is the main promise of IAM.
The benefits come with trade-offs. Designing a sensible IAM hierarchy, naming scheme, and role catalog takes real effort. Platform and security teams need time to understand how policies combine and how inheritance behaves. There is also a learning curve for engineers who are used to broad admin everywhere access. In the short term, tighter roles may feel like lost freedom, even though they reduce risk and make it easier to delegate tasks safely.
Skills and culture play a big part here. If teams do not understand IAM deeply enough, they tend to fall back on overbroad roles just to get work done. If leaders treat IAM as a one-time project rather than an ongoing design responsibility, role sprawl and drift are almost guaranteed. Tools can help detect risky permissions or suggest tighter scopes, but no tool removes the need for people who understand both the cloud platform and the business processes that run on top of it.
Common failure modes in Cloud IAM show up quietly. Role sprawl is one of the most visible on paper. Dozens or hundreds of custom roles created to fix short-term issues, then never cleaned up or documented. Another red flag is heavy use of powerful roles at the very top of the hierarchy, attached at the account or subscription level just in case. In that world, almost anyone could change almost anything, making incidents harder to contain and investigations harder to complete.
Shallow adoption of IAM often looks like a box that has been checked. The platform has roles and policies, but they are not structured in a way that supports clear decisions. Access reviews become painful because reviewers lack a simple way to link permissions to real duties. Emergency or break glass access exists, but it is not monitored closely, and nobody reviews its use. The technology is in place, yet the organization does not enjoy the intended control.
Healthy IAM shows up in habits and in data. Access reviews center on groups and roles that map to teams and responsibilities, and owners understand why those roles exist. New projects and accounts come from templates that already include logging, baseline roles, and sensible guardrails. Machine identities have specific time-bounded permissions that match the workloads they run, and updates to those workloads trigger updates to their access. Logs from the authorization engine are enabled and actually used to answer questions about risky actions and important changes.
You can also see maturity in how teams talk about access. When someone asks who can reach a particular storage bucket or database, the answer is a short list, not a long delay followed by uncertainty. When a new service appears, there is already a path for assigning and reviewing its permissions. Break glass rules exist for emergencies, but they are tightly controlled with clear approvals and post-use reviews. In short, the organization treats IAM as a living system, not a static configuration.
At its heart, Cloud Identity and Access Management is about making sure that every identity in your cloud environment has just enough permission to do its job, and no more, in a way you can explain and defend. It is the decision layer that ties together accounts, roles, policies, and workloads, answering the same question thousands of times a day without fanfare. Strong designs help developers move faster, reduce incident impact, and make compliance conversations less stressful. Weak designs hide risk and slow everything down. As you think about your own environment, it helps to return to a few simple ideas. Identities should map to real people and real workloads. Roles should map to real duties. Permissions should be narrow enough that a single mistake does not expose everything. Logs should be complete enough to tell the story of what happened when something goes wrong. If those pieces are in place, your Cloud IAM can grow with you instead of holding you back. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.